Assalamu alaikum. Uh, this is just a brief overview of the lecture. Inshallah, I plan on giving at Muhammad's Massima 7, February 1st, called the Milky Way. And the purpose of this lecture is to explore the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad on milk. Um, not necessarily the delineations of what is raw milk, pure milk, and wholesome milk, but just to get us to focus on why milk is very important to us and for our sojourn here as black people trying to become a new people. Now, I'm going to start off by talking about the food pyramids of the past. And we may all have different understandings of the food pyramid. And I'm going to read from a book called Death by Food Pyramid that described how the food pyramid was put together by the U.S. government and what influences went into putting together the food pyramid. Then I'm going to transition into talking about members of our communities who put together their own plate or descriptions of what the black American or black diet or descendants of Africa uh, diet is supposed to be. Namely, Dr. Sebi, um, Dick Gregory, and Alvina Fulton, who was essentially the teacher of Dick Gregory, and how they came to their conclusions about what our diet should be. And all the while, the Honorable Muhammad had prescribed for us a diet, you know, being a leader of black people in a group of black people who were well known, but there were other schools of thought that gave compliments to the Honorable Muhammad, but kind of had philosophies and principles that contradict and clash with the teachings. So, along that path of learning what the food pyramid told us, what was good for us, and then what our so called food scientists and nutritionists, even Dr. Laila Africa, have recommended. And then I'm going to show some of the, I would say, deficiencies in their diets in terms of our people uh, believing that milk is not a natural part of our diet. And so we are now in a culture of plant-based phenomenon, to whereas plant-based is looked at as something positive. I personally think that we should use that terminology. That is not a term I've heard the Most Honorable Muhammad nor the Honorable Mr. Farrakhan use. I understand what they're trying to say when they say plant-based, but plant-based is not necessarily what we think it is. Honorable Muhammad taught in How They to Live that there are plants that are poisonous to us, and our scientists have to describe to us what those poisonous plants are and what are non-poisonous plants, and even parts of plants that are poisonous to us that they're trying to sneak into the food supply in certain products. And there's a book that I wanted to get, but it's not coming out till March 1st. It's called The Great Plant-Based Con. And I believe it is part of the depopulation agenda to try to get us to get away from certain aspects of our diet and eating a plant-based diet. So once we understand that not all plants are good for us and not all plant products are meant to be in our diet, there are certain culprits in the past who have introduced plant products to us, and we'd be surprised where they came from. And we also have to have an understanding of different parts of plants. A plant has an anatomy. We can eat the fruit and the root, but there are other parts of the plant that are not intended to be food for man, but man is making it into a food. You're going to go into that, right? And the ultimate products of this plant-based phenomenon, are they good for us? Is Impossible Burger and Beyond Meat good for us? So once I establish that and begin to disassemble the plant-based phenomenon and try to isolate these plant-based milks that are being put before us, I can then begin to talk about raw milk and how raw milk or pure milk is plant-based. And I'll read from the Holy Quran, the 16th chapter, 66th verse, and also mention the land of milk and honey, talk about the varieties of milks that are out there, and try to delineate pasteurization and homogenization in the treatment of cows. Delineate that and not try to get us to not look at the overall treatment of bovines and cows as universal. That there are those farmers who take care of their livestock to produce good products for us. And I'll talk about lactose intolerance and the benefits of drinking milk, and try to talk to us that you can't get away from milk products, in terms of having good health. And there's a reason why milk was delivered and forced into our diets at such a young age. And how we could reintroduce it back into our diets and have a sustained and healthy life with it. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you.